Rian walked slowly down the dusty road of Delta 4 Colony, his boots sinking slightly into the orange sand. The sun was low in the sky, casting long shadows across the quiet buildings. His head was held low, his hands were empty. His face had no expression, but his eyes held a strange silence, the kind that made people look away. Just hours ago, Rian had a job. He worked at the ore factory, checking the machines that dug deep into the rocky ground. He didn't talk much, but he was always on time. His work was clean, fast, and quiet. For 20 years, he fixed, adjusted, and reset the machines that brought the colony its income. But today, something changed. The factory manager, a sharp man named Tef, called Rian into the control room. There were no kind words, no warning. Just a message on the screen. Your service is no longer required. Your ID has been deactivated. That was it. No reason. No thank you, no final pay. Rian stood there for a moment. He didn't argue. He didn't shout. He only nodded, turned, and walked away without another word. Some of the younger workers whispered after him as he passed. He's finally out. He was strange anyway. He never spoke unless asked. No one really knew Rian. He lived in the far corner of the colony, near the cliffs. His house was small, made of gray metal with solar panels on the roof. Most thought he was just an old mechanic, maybe even slow in the head. But no one dared say it to his face. Now without a job, Rian looked even more alone. As he reached his home, the door opened with a soft beep. Inside, the room was neat and simple. A small bed, a cooking unit, a worn chair. Tools hung neatly on the wall. He placed his ID card on the table. It blinked red. Useless now. He stood there for a long time. Then, without saying a word, he walked to the back wall and pressed his hand against a small panel. A part of the wall slid open, a hidden storage space. Inside was a long, locked case, black, heavy, untouched for years. He didn't open it. Not yet. Across the colony, trouble was growing. A street gang called the Dust Crows had been causing problems for months. They were young, rough, and hungry for power. They wore torn jackets, had wires in their hair, and carried old stun rods and scrap weapons. Their leader, Breck, was tall and loud. He liked to scare people. He liked it even more when people gave him what he wanted: food, parts, credits. When Breck heard Rian got fired, he laughed. The old machine man's alone now, he told his gang. Easy pickings. They didn't know Rian. No one really did. The next day, the Dust Crows came knocking. Rian was sitting outside, fixing a small solar panel. His hands moved slowly but carefully. He looked up as the gang approached. Breck stepped forward. Nice place, quiet, no guards. No job, you must be feeling weak. Rian wiped his hands with a cloth. I don't want trouble. Breck grinned. You have trouble, old man. One of the gang members kicked a small power box near the door. Another grabbed a crate of tools and laughed. Rian didn't move. Leave the tools. They're not worth much. Maybe not, Breck said, but we take what we want. You can't stop us. Rian stood up slowly. He looked at each of them. Calm, steady. I won't stop you, he said. But I remember faces. Breck laughed again and threw a small rock at the ground near Rian's feet. Hear that? He remembers faces. They pushed over some barrels, grabbed a few things, and walked away. Rian didn't follow. He didn't shout. He just watched. Later that night, he sat alone in his room. The lights were dim. The wind outside whispered across the rocks. He stood again and walked to the back wall. This time, he opened the black case. Inside were things that didn't belong in a place, like Delta 4, an old headset with advanced scanning tech, a silent drone the size of a hand, a wrist module with tools not found in any colony store. He lifted the items slowly, one by one. His hands remembered the weight. He whispered to himself, The first word spoken all day. I asked for peace. He closed the case, but he didn't lock it. The colony slept. The wind blew. The gang celebrated with stolen drinks and loud music in their hideout, and Rian sat in the dark. Quiet room, eyes open. Waiting. Because some people think silence means weakness. But Rian's silence was not empty. It was full of memory, and something was coming next. The sun rose again over Delta 4, slow and heavy. The sky above was always orange in the morning, with thin clouds floating like dust. Most of the colony was still asleep, except for a few workers going to the mines. But in one corner of the colony, loud laughter broke the quiet. The dust crows were awake early. Their hideout was an old repair station, broken down years ago. Now it was filled with scrap, stolen gear, and loud music. The gang sat in a circle, eating and talking about their new earnings. Breck, their leader, chewed on a protein stick and smiled. That old man didn't even blink, he said. Did you see his face? Blank, like a robot. One of the younger members, Talo, laughed. He didn't even try to stop us. Just stood there. Another, a girl named Yuna, leaned back against a crate. I think he's weird. I heard he doesn't even go to the colony center. Just works and goes home. Breck raised an eyebrow. Not anymore. He's jobless now. Means he's got nothing, no credits. No backup, easy to break. Talo nodded. We should go back today. Take more. Maybe there's tech in that shed. Breck grinned wide. Good idea. We'll go tonight. That evening, Rian worked outside his house again. He wasn't fixing anything, just pretending to clean a panel. He had a tool in one hand, but his real attention was on the small device on his wrist. It looked like a simple watch, but it wasn't. The screen showed a map of the colony. Small red dots blinked near the old repair station. Rian tapped the screen. The dots moved. They're coming again, he said quietly. He walked back inside and closed the door. Then he pressed a button on the wall. A small light blinked green. Silent mode activated. No sounds would escape the house. No lights would show from inside. He sat down and waited. Night fell. The dust crows moved quietly through the colony streets, staying in the shadows. Breck led them, holding a flashlight with the beam covered. His eyes gleamed with greed. Quiet now, he said. If he's sleeping, we just take what we want. They reached Rian's house. The place looked dark, still, empty. Talo pointed. There's a small building in the back. Must be the shed. Yuna moved ahead, holding a crowbar. She tried the door, locked. No problem, she whispered. We break it. They didn't know that a small drone, no bigger than a bird, floated above them. Its camera watched everything. And inside the house, Rian saw them on his wrist screen. He didn't move. Not yet. Yuna pried open the shed door. Inside it was full of boxes and old machines. She smiled. Bingo. Talo stepped in. He grabbed a box and opened it. Tools, some wiring. Maybe we can sell it. Breck stayed outside watching. Something felt strange. Too quiet. Then suddenly, the ground under Talo's foot clicked. He froze. What was that? A soft puff sound came from the wall. A small burst of smoke filled the shed. Not harmful, just thick. Smoke bomb. Yuna shouted, coughing. Outside. The flashlight in Breck's hand stopped working. The light flickered, then died. Emp, he muttered. No way. The gang stumbled out of the smoke, coughing and confused. All around them, small panels on the ground blinked red. Then Rian stepped out of his house. He was calm. His face had no anger, only a quiet look of control. I told you to walk away, he said. Breck pulled out his stun rod. You think tricks scare us? Rian said nothing. He tapped his wrist screen. Suddenly, every light in the area, from street lamps to the gang's headsets, blinked out. Total darkness. Then, one by one, lights turned back on. But only blue lights. from small hidden drones flying around them. Each drone had a bright light shining straight into their eyes. They couldn't see anything else. Una screamed, "He's got machines watching us." Breck tried to swing his rod, but it hit nothing. "Just air," Rian spoke again. "You came to my home. Twice. You took what wasn't yours. I didn't stop you the first time, but you didn't listen." Talo dropped the box he was carrying. "Let's go, man. This isn't normal." The gang turned and ran. Rian didn't follow. The drones flew up into the night sky, disappearing. And silence returned. Back at their hideout, the dust crows sat in shock. No one spoke for a while. Breck finally stood. "He's not just a worker. No factory man has gear like that." Una nodded. "He didn't hurt us, but he could have." Talo stared at the floor. "What do we do now?" Breck looked out the broken window. "We find out who he really is." Meanwhile, Rian cleaned his tools and placed them back in the case. He locked it gently and slid it under the floor. He looked around his quiet home. Nothing broken. Nothing lost, he whispered to himself. Peace is better, but peace must be protected. He sat down in his chair and looked at the door. He knew this wasn't the end, but he was ready. The next morning, the colony felt different. The sun was the same. The streets were quiet as usual. But people whispered more than normal. Someone had seen the dust crows running through the night, scared and silent. They were coughing. Covered in dust, they looked like they saw a ghost. They tried to rob the old mechanic, Rian. Most people didn't believe it at first. Rian was quiet, always alone, always polite. He helped fix things when asked, never said no, but never stayed long. A few people said he used to be something else before coming to Delta 4, but no one had proof. Until now, inside his small home, Rian sat in front of an old metal table. He was not working. He was remembering. His eyes were open, but he was looking into the past, years ago. Before Delta 4, he wore a different uniform. Dark armor, thin helmet, a black badge with a silver circle. He was part of Project Vanta, a secret Earth program designed for deep space missions in dangerous zones. Not soldiers, not spies, something in between. Silent experts. Skilled in machines, survival, and strategy. His team had only 6 members. They never failed a mission, but then one mission changed everything. A small moon colony was attacked by pirates. Rian's team was sent in to disable the pirate base. They were ordered to use stealth, no direct attacks. But something went wrong. An explosion hit a fuel line. Fire spread through the colony. Civilians were trapped. Rian saved 10 people, but 7 others didn't make it. He never forgot their faces. That day, he took off the badge. He left the project. Left Earth, took a small ship and flew far away. Far enough to disappear. That's how he came to Delta 4. He never used his training again. Until now. Later that day, Rian walked through the colony market. People stepped aside when they saw him. Some nodded. Others stayed silent. The respect was new, strange. He bought a few parts, wires, small batteries, a circuit board. Nothing special. But behind him, someone watched. It was Breck, hiding in the crowd, eyes sharp. He wore a hood, and his usual smile was gone. He followed Rian at a distance, not too close, not too far. Rian knew he was being followed. He didn't turn, didn't change his path. He let Breck watch. Back at the gang's hideout, Breck gathered his crew. "We can't hit him again," he said, "not with sticks and wires. He's not a worker, he's trained, military maybe." Una leaned forward. "So we stop, just leave him?" "No," Breck said, his voice low. "We learn, we find out where he came from. What he's hiding, we find his weakness." Talo frowned. "But what if he sees us again? He has drones, tech, tricks." Breck nodded. "Then we stop playing games. We build our own tools. We get stronger. He looked at the others. No one makes fools out of the dust crows. At night, Rian worked in his shed. This time, he was building something new. He placed a small drone on the table, round, silent, like a metal eye. He opened it and adjusted the sensors. Beside him lay an old photo, a picture of his old team. All 6 of them, standing in front of a black ship, smiling. He touched the photo gently. "I didn't want to return to this," he whispered. But they pushed. He uploaded new commands into the drone, non-lethal systems. Sound light, pressure sensors, nothing that could harm. Only warned out his rules were clear. No violence, only control. The next morning, Rian visited a quiet part of the colony, an old tower once used for signals. Now abandoned, he walked up the stairs, reaching the roof. From there, he could see everything. The factory, the market, even his small house near the cliff. He placed a small black box on the edge and tapped it. Inside the box, a signal booster connected to his wrist device. Now he could watch the colony without leaving home. As he turned to leave, he heard a soft footstep. A boy stood at the top of the stairs, maybe 12 years old, thin, dirty clothes, curious eyes. "You're the man who scared the dust crows," the boy said. Rian smiled faintly. "I asked them to leave me alone. They didn't listen." The boy stepped closer. "Can you teach me how to build machines?" Rian paused. "Why?" "Because I want to protect people too," the boy said. "Like you." Rian looked at him for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Come tomorrow," he said, "after school." The boy smiled and ran down the stairs, back at his home. Rian opened the case once more. He pulled out a flat screen, small and silver. When turned on, it showed a secure connection to Earth, one he hadn't used in years. He typed in a code. A voice answered, calm, female. "Vanta Unit 04, you're still alive." Rian didn't smile. "I'm not returning, just watching." A small gang pushed me. I pushed back. "Need backup?" "No," Rian said. "I just want to know if any of the others are still active." A pause. Then the voice replied, "Unit 03 is on Mars. 05 is retired. The rest inactive." Rian closed the screen. He sat in silence for a while. He wasn't part of the project anymore, but part of it would always stay with him. Outside, night came again. The colony lights blinked on, one by one, and in the shadows, Breck's gang prepared something new, stronger tools, better gear. They weren't finished, but neither was Rian, because he had made a promise to himself. No harm. No hate, but no fear either. And this time, he would protect more than just himself. He would protect the peace. The wind blew hard across Delta 4 that evening. Dust moved through the colony streets like whispers in the dark. Most people stayed indoors. But Rian stood on the roof of his house watching. His wrist screen showed blinking dots. The red ones were moving slowly toward the factory edge. He already knew who they were. The dust crows were back, but they weren't coming straight to him this time. They were smarter now. They were testing, watching. Rian didn't panic. He didn't even frown. He simply tapped a few commands on his wrist, and somewhere above the rooftops, 3 silent drones flew into motion. Inside the dust crow's hideout, Breck stood over a metal table, looking at a map of the colony. His team had printed it using a stolen datapad. They marked every place Rian had visited: his home, the tower, the market. "We don't attack yet," Breck said. "We don't rush. We break his tools first, piece by piece." Yuna nodded. "What about the little drones?" "They fly too fast." "We can't hit them. We don't need to hit them," Breck replied. "We jam them." He held up a strange device, square, black, and pulsing with blue light. "Signal jammer," he explained. "Blocks short-range control. Once we block his eyes, he's blind." Talo looked nervous. "What if he has more?" "Then we take down 1, then 2, and we keep going," Breck said. "We wear him down. He can't watch everything." The gang moved out, staying in pairs. No loud talking. No bright lights, but Rian was already watching them. From his rooftop, Rian saw the gang spread out across the colony like insects in the dust. One group near the solar station, another near the water pumps. He had guessed this would happen. That they wouldn't stop after the last warning. He didn't want to fight. But he also couldn't let them scare the colony. So he activated phase 2 of his plan. He called it Silent Shield, a series of traps, decoys, and smart tools placed all around the colony. No weapons, no harm. Just confusion and control. And it started now. The first gang pair reached the solar station. They began placing the jammer device near the central panel. Suddenly, they heard a loud hissing sound. One of them jumped back. Snake? But it wasn't a snake. A round object rolled out from behind a crate and burst with a flash of white smoke. Cold and harmless, but thick. They coughed and ran back. Blinded. At the same time, their jammer stopped working. The wires melted slightly. Above them, a drone hovered, watching silently. Then a voice came from a speaker hidden in the wall. "Go home. You're not ready for this game." They ran. In another part of the colony, Talo and Yuna moved toward a communication tower. Yuna climbed up to place a blocker device. Talo stayed below, keeping watch, but when he stepped forward, the ground gave a soft click. Talo froze. From behind a barrel, a small blinking box popped up. Juna shouted, "Jump!" Talo dove aside just as a loud buzzing sound started. No explosion, just strong sound waves that made their ears ring and heads spin. Lights around the tower turned red, then off. Rian's voice spoke again, soft but clear through the cum lines. "This is your last warning. Leave it." Back at the hideout, Breck slammed his fist against the table. "He's everywhere. He's got this place wired like a trap maze." Yuna sat down, her ears still ringing. "He could have hurt us, but he didn't." Breck stared at her. "So what? You think he's kind?" "He's toying with us." Talo whispered, "Maybe we should." "Stop." "No," Breck shouted. "We go deeper. We stop hiding. If he wants a game, we'll give him one." But not all the gang agreed anymore. Some were starting to feel fear, not fear of getting hurt, but fear of someone who could stop them at any time and still chose not to. That was more frightening than anything else. The next morning, the colony's local repairman, old Mr. Dan, found a strange package at his door. Inside was a new circuit board and a clean note, "For your broken scanner. No charge." He smiled. Others in the colony began finding things too: fixed water pumps, clean solar panels, stronger signal antennas. People started talking again. "Rian helped me with my machine. My boy said he teaches him tech after school. He's not just smart, he's watching over us." And word spread fast. Rian wasn't a threat. He was a guardian. Back in his home, Rian looked out the window at the sunrise. He held a small tool in one hand, fixing the last drone. The colony was quiet again, but he knew it wouldn't last. Breck was still out there, still angry, still planning. Rian didn't want power. He didn't want to lead. He only wanted peace, but peace had to be guarded, and he was ready. He placed the drone on the table and whispered to himself, "Let them come again. I will teach without harm, but they will not forget." Because sometimes true strength is not in fists or fire. It's in calm hands, quiet eyes, and the courage to stand without striking. The air on Delta 4 was dry and still. The sun was high, and most of the colony workers had gone back to their daily tasks. Everything looked normal again, but deep inside the old repair station, the dust crows were not calm. Their hideout was now filled with broken tools, half-working gadgets, and nervous silence. Breck paced back and forth. "He's making us look like fools," he growled. "The whole colony is laughing at us." Yuna sat on a crate, arms crossed. We tried everything. He doesn't fight us. He stops us without touching us. Talo looked down. Maybe we should stop. This is going too far. Breck turned fast. No, we don't stop now. That old man thinks he owns the colony. He thinks he can scare us. He slammed his hand on the table. No more games. Tonight we trap him. That night, the streets of the colony were empty. No one walked outside. A strange quiet filled the air, as if something was waiting to happen. Rian stood by the window of his small home, watching the stars. He had noticed the pattern in the gang's moves. Each attack was more desperate, less careful. Breck was losing control, but Rian also knew something dangerous. Angry people who feel weak often do foolish things. So he prepared. He didn't want to fight, but he needed to stop this before it hurt someone else. He opened his black case one last time. The trap came just after midnight. Rian stepped out of his house when he heard a strange sound, a cry for help, a young voice. Please, someone help me. He turned fast. It came from the far edge of the colony, near the old supply yard. Without waiting, he moved toward the sound, but he wasn't careless. As he walked, his wrist screen scanned the area. No life signs. No heat. No movement. It was a trick. He kept going. Near the supply yard, he stopped, empty. Silent. Then, the lights shut off. Darkness. Suddenly, bright spotlights flashed on, blinding his eyes. Figures stepped out from behind crates. 5 of them. Breck in front, holding a long metal rod charged with energy. You walked into our trap. Old man, Breck said. Rian didn't speak. He stood calm, eyes scanning. We've blocked your drones. No signal, no help, Breck said with a smile. Behind him the others raised nets, rods, and stun tools. This ends now. Rian took a slow breath. You still don't understand. Breck stepped forward. I understand one thing. You made us look weak. Now we make you disappear. He raised his rod to strike, but Rian didn't move. Instead, something moved behind. Then, click, buzz. Lights lit up on the ground, one by one, in a circle around the gang. Then came the voice. From hidden speakers, surrounding area has been scanned. Aggression level, high, countermeasures activated. Breck turned. What is this? Then the floor panels under their feet shifted slightly, not enough to throw them, but enough to make them stumble. A soft gas hissed out, cold, clean. Mist that caused no harm, but blurred their vision. They tried to run, but nets shot from the ground, wrapping around their legs. Not sharp, not strong. Just enough to tangle. In seconds. All 5 of them were on the ground. Then Rian stepped forward, through the mist, through the confusion, calm as ever. Breck looked up, coughing. You. You set a trap too, Rian nodded. I knew you would. Try. That's why I led you here. Yuna shouted. Why are you doing this? You could have hurt us. I didn't, Rian said. He stopped in front of them, hands behind his back. I've never hurt you. Not once, but you kept coming. And now look at you. The gang lay on the ground, tangled, coughing, confused. Not injured, just beaten without a fight. Rian crouched beside Breck. You think fear comes from weapons, he said softly. But real fear is knowing someone could destroy you, but chooses not to. Breck looked away. Rian stood again. He pressed a button on his wrist. The lights turned off. The nets unlocked. The gas cleared. You are free to go, he said. No one's coming after you, not me, not the colony. The gang slowly stood. No one spoke. No one fought back. Leave if you want, Rian said. Or stay and change. But know this, if you choose fear again, I'll be watching. He turned and walked away, disappearing into the night fog. The next day, Delta 4 woke to peace. The dust crows were gone. Some said they left the colony by the outer transport line. Others said they just hid, but they never bothered anyone again. People returned to their work, The market reopened. The school kids played near the cliffs, and Rian? He sat outside his home, fixing a small drone with a boy beside him, the same boy who once asked to learn. The boy looked up. "Were you scared last night?" Rian smiled faintly. "Yes, but not for me. I was scared someone would go too far." The boy nodded. "I want to be like you." Rian looked at him kindly. "Then learn peace. But be ready to protect it." The sun rose slowly over Delta 4, touching the buildings with gold dot, and for the first time in many years, the colony truly felt safe, because one man, quiet, forgotten, and fired, stood up not with fists, but with patience, wisdom, and the kind of strength that never needed to shout. Days passed quietly on Delta 4. The dust storms calmed. The streets were clean again. The power stations worked without failure. People returned to normal life, but now they walked with a new kind of peace. The name Rian was no longer a mystery. To some, he was still the quiet man with sharp tools. To others, he had become something more, not a hero, not a fighter, but a symbol, someone who had stood up without shouting, someone who had protected without hurting. Rian sat in his chair outside his small house, drinking from a warm metal cup. The morning sun cast soft light across the rocky land. Children passed by on their way to school. A few of them waved. One boy even stopped and handed him a drawing, a stick figure man with small flying drones around him. "Is this me?" Rian asked. The boy smiled. "Yes, you're the tech protector." Rian chuckled quietly. "Thank you." The boy ran off happily. Rian folded the drawing and kept it in his pocket. At the colony control center, some of the council members were talking about recent changes. "Crime is down," one said. "No more tool theft, no more gang threats. Maintenance requests are being solved faster too," another added. The head officer, a calm man named Reek, looked at the report in his hand. "Most of the repairs are being done by one man," he said. "Rian," the others looked at each other. "He was fired last month." Reek nodded. "That may have been a mistake." Meanwhile, at the edge of the colony, something new arrived. A large company ship landed quietly, kicking up dust as it settled. It was silver, with sharp edges and a symbol on the side. Vextar Mining Corp. From the ship stepped a group of people in gray uniforms, clean, formal, and strict. At the front was a man with a long coat and a metal badge on his chest. His name was Mikkel, and he was from corporate enforcement. He looked around with a cold expression. "Small colony," he said. "Should be easy." The next morning, the colony council met with Mikkel and his team. He placed a datapad on the table and spoke clearly. "Delta 4's production is 17% below company target," he said. "You've failed your quota for 3 cycles." The council members looked at each other nervously. "We've had equipment issues," one said, "and worker shortages." Mikkel didn't smile. "Not the company's problem. We're here to fix it." He tapped the pad. "Vextar will now take control of local mining rights. That means we control all land, machines, and structures within the colony zone." Another tap. "Private homes on mineral land must be cleared in 5 days." The council members gasped. "That includes the outer homes," Mikkel added. "Even the one by the cliffs." Rian's home. Later that evening, word spread fast of the company had come to take over. People were confused, angry, some were afraid. Rian heard the news from a young boy at the market. "They say you have to leave," the boy said. Rian's eyes narrowed just a bit. "They say why?" "Because they want the land. They said it's rich with some kind of ore." Rian didn't answer. He looked up at the sky for a moment. Then he turned and walked home. That night, the council held a quiet meeting. No one knew what to do. The company was big, powerful, and legal. They have papers, signatures, authority. We can't fight them. But we can't just give up our homes either. One voice finally spoke up. It was Reek. "There's one man who already showed us how to stand. Everyone knew who he meant. The next day, the colony gathered in the central square. Families, workers, shopkeepers, children. And at the front stood Rian. He looked at the people, not with pride, but with calm strength. "We don't need to fight," he said, "not with weapons." He raised a small tool, not a gun, not a blade. "But we know this place better than anyone. We built it, we fixed it, we've lived here for years." He looked at the colony map on a large screen. "We use their rules. We use their machines. And we show them that we are not weak." Together. When Meckel returned to the square with his guards, he found something surprising. All around the colony, workers stood in front of buildings, tools in hand, calm, silent, and united. The mines were working at full power. The scanners were clean. Production had increased in just one day. Every system had a maintenance report, and a new file was waiting for Meckel, a full review of the colony's output, showing improvement, signed by the council, backed by Rian's technical fixes. It was legal. It was complete, and most important, it left no room for takeover. Meckel frowned. "You planned this," he said. Rian nodded. "We just remembered who we are." Meckel stayed for one more day. He checked every corner, every machine, every report. Everything was in order. No reason to take over now. He left without shaking hands. As the company ship rose into the sky, the colony let out a breath of relief. People clapped. Some cheered, but Rian only stood in the back, arms crossed, watching quietly. He didn't smile. He didn't speak, but the people knew. The man they once ignored, the man they once called just a fired worker, was the one who had helped them protect everything. That evening, as the sun set behind the cliffs, Rian sat outside again. The boy who drew the picture came running back. "You beat them," he said. Rian shook his head. "We beat them," the boy smiled. "What now?" Rian looked at the stars. "Now we rest. But we keep watching, because peace doesn't stay by itself." The wind blew gently across the dust, and Delta 4 remained free, not because of war, but because of wisdom. Weeks passed. Delta 4 colony had returned to a calm rhythm, but this time, things were different. People worked harder, not because they were forced, but because they believed in what they were building. Machines stayed in good shape. The water system flowed without error. Even the air filters, which had once broken every month, now ran without problems. The name Rian was quietly spoken across every workshop and every home. No one called him a hero. He didn't want that. But many now called him something else, the builder. One morning, Rian received a quiet message on his old pad. It came from the main company office orbiting above the colony. To Rian from Vexstar HR Division status. Fired, reversed position. Senior Technical Advisor, offered location. Delta 4 note. Your work has been reviewed and is highly valued. The company recognizes your contribution. We wish to rehire you under better terms. Rian read it carefully. He didn't smile. He walked outside, holding the pad in one hand. The sun was just rising, painting the rocks gold. He looked at the colony. Clean, calm, running strong. Then he tapped one button on the screen. Reject offer. He went back inside and kept working. That same day, a new visitor came to Delta 4. She was not from the company. She wore no badge, no uniform. Her name was Mira, a quiet, soft-spoken scientist from Earth's outer research team. She had been sent to study colony life patterns. She met Rian while he was repairing a damaged sensor on the southern ridge. You're the one who fixed the colony, aren't you? She asked. I just repaired things, Rian replied. More than that, Mira said. People talk about you. You gave them something bigger than safety. You gave them strength. Rian didn't answer at first. He tightened a bolt and stood up. I gave them what was already inside them, he said. They just forgot. Mira stayed in the colony for several days. She observed how people worked, how they helped one another, and how the system stayed operational without company aid. She wrote quiet notes on her datapad. One evening, she sat beside Rian near the cliff's edge. "The story here," she said, "is not about machines. It's about people." Rian nodded. "Machines can be replaced," he said. "People can't." Then Mira asked something no one else had asked him. "Why did you come here in the first place?" Rian looked up at the stars, silent for a long time. "I used to be part of a big engineering team," he finally said. "Worked on stations near Jupiter. Built big machines. Important work. What happened? One day, the company said I was too slow, too careful. Said I didn't move with the times. I was replaced by faster workers. Machines did most of the thinking. They fired me. And you came here? I thought I could start over." But even here, the same story played again. Mira was quiet. Then she said, "But this time you didn't stay quiet." Rian looked at her. "This time I remembered something my old teacher said. A machine is only as strong as the hand that builds it." News of Delta IV's peaceful resistance and rapid recovery spread far beyond the colony. Small settlements on other planets heard about it. That people sent messages. "How did you do it? We want to stand like you did. Can you help us too?" Rian began sending out small guidebooks, handwritten manuals filled with simple diagrams and steps for fixing systems, organizing local leadership, and protecting against corporate pressure, all without violence. Each one ended with the same message: you are not weak. Fix your machines, fix your trust, build again. One day, a group of young workers came to Rian's home. There were 5 of them, 2 women, 3 men. All had tool belts and serious faces. "We've read everything you sent," one said. "We've practiced, we've worked hard." Another added, "Now we want to learn more. From you." Rian blinked. "You want to be apprentices?" "No," the youngest one said. "We want to be builders. Like you." Rian didn't speak right away. Then slowly he stood up and smiled. "All right," he said. "Let's begin." Months passed. The apprentices became strong, smart, and wise. Each one learned not just how to fix broken tech, but how to listen to people, how to protect without fighting, and how to lead without control. Soon, they left Delta IV, traveling to other colonies in need. And wherever they went, people welcomed them with hope. They called them the FIXERS. Each one carried a tool bag. Each one carried Rian's message. Back on Delta IV, Rian remained quiet. He still repaired broken doors, still cleaned dust out of solar panels, still helped children learn simple tech tricks. But one thing had changed. Now when people walked by, they nodded in respect. Not out of fear, not out of fame, but out of gratitude. He had reminded them of something important, that humans could still stand tall in a galaxy of machines, that kindness could still fix what fear could not, that one quiet man, even when pushed aside, could still rebuild something stronger. One night, as Rian watched the stars, Mira returned. She sat beside him again. "Your name is being spoken across 10 colonies," she said. "I didn't ask for that," Rian replied. "I know. That's why it matters." They sat in silence. Finally she asked, "Do you think humanity will be okay out here?" Rian nodded slowly. "Yes," he said. "As long as we remember, the strongest hands are not the ones holding weapons. They're the ones building peace."